there, could you send him downstairs, inshallah? Inshallah, as we begin, just to clarify, the youth Quran night would be rescheduled till next Friday, inshallah. So those who are here for the youth Quran night, we humbly request them to even participate in tonight's program, inshallah. We will conclude before 9 o'clock. And once again, this is a monthly series which we are hoping to embark upon, where in each month we address a core issue that is plaguing our societies and our communities, and it's imperative for us to understand it and also see how we can solve this problem. There is going to be a PowerPoint presentation. As you see, it's on your left and right. So, inshallah, sit in a comfortable way that you'll be able to see the slides also, inshallah. We'll request, inshallah, for the brothers who are in the enclosure, the glass enclosure, if they can either come forward, inshallah. And for the sisters who are upstairs and interested in participating in this discussion, we welcome them downstairs to the glass enclosure. Once again, the sisters who are upstairs, please come downstairs. And the brothers who are in the enclosure in the middle, please come to the main prayer hall. Jazakumullah khairah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما والحقني بالصالحين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. Once again, brothers and sisters in Islam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for your time tonight. I know we just had last Friday our monthly family night program, but one of the additional programs that I'm hoping to introduce in this masjid for the next year, for the next 12 months, is to address the front end of issues. For those who attended the 3-year vision presentation, they may recall I talked about how do we tackle the problems in our society. Number one is, of course, we talk about education, to educate our children and to raise them correctly so that they could be rooted Muslims in their faith, and thus their actions would be conducive and corresponding with the faith and not contradictive to the faith. But that's only one aspect. That's imperative that we teach our children, but at the same time we address the front-end issues that we have in our society, such as domestic violence, mental health, divorce, marriage issues. And so there is a lineup of 12 topics that we will be covering, inshallah, on a monthly basis for less than an hour. I just want everyone to understand that Sanity and Stability Through Spirituality is a series, and we are covering number 2. Does anyone know what number 1 was? Anyone? This is the second one. Anyone remember what the first one was? It happened in September. It happened in the gymnasium, where we addressed the mental health crisis. Alhamdulillah, we had a great turnout. Although we didn't title it, we didn't have the time to do so, but that was one of the topics that we wanted to open discussions upon. I want everyone to understand that when we do have these discussions, It is imperative that you and I understand we're not here to change something within 1 hour. No khutbah, no discussion, no weekend course can change the course of affairs that we are in currently. It is the beginning of the process. It is the beginning of the discussion. It is exposing the problem. It is exemplifying the importance of what's happening. We're here to start conversation. As I always say in my podcast, we are here to spark conversation. If we can start having conversations, then those who have the ability can get involved in bringing forth the solutions based on their understanding, their knowledge, and their ability. So moving forward, inshallah, what is the purpose of such matters that we are going to discuss throughout these series? The answer is simple. For too long, I can recall from my childhood till now, and especially within our Muslim communities, the manner in which we deal with many current social issues is denial. The manner with which we address divorce, the rise of divorce in our society was denial. The manner in which we address abuse, denial. The manner in which we address bullying is denial. We don't want to accept it or speak about it. And how am I saying that? Because in our communities, we display the demeanor of a person who is turning a blind eye and ignoring the matter as if it's non-existent. We're too perfect as a people to have problems. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we have a perfect religion that helps us move beyond our problems. But that doesn't mean because we're Muslims, we don't have problems. The fact that we are denying the existence of these problems, it in itself is a big problem. Does that make sense? That in itself is a big problem. So what did this result in? If someone got divorced 15 years ago, they dare speak about it. Because everyone in the community will shun them. If someone was widowed, they dare talk about it. Because there was this stigma attached to people who are divorced, people who have marriage problems, people who have mental health issues. It was something that you shouldn't talk about. Why? Because the problem isn't wrong, you're wrong. You're the problem. And this continues to exist in many issues, including bullying. So the result of this demeanor that we presented made the people who were facing those issues feel like aliens, literally feel like aliens. And it compelled them to accept that this was the norm and not to speak about it in the fear of being called out as different. If I was to talk about being bullied and no one talks about bullying, then people will look at me as a stranger. So I'm already facing a crisis. I don't want to enter into a second crisis. Thus, I should just be quiet about it. What is our goal in the next 12 months, inshallah, through this spirituality series? Is to remove the cover and end the taboo. We learned that there is la haya'a fid deen. There's no shame in our religion. There isn't a matter that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam failed to address. He addressed every issue that was brought forth to him. He never shied away, nor did he create an atmosphere with the Sahaba, those who were with him, or the Bedouins who came from outside would feel uncomfortable talking about. We need to start talking about the issues. Because we are not exclusive from society, we are part and parcel of the society. Even if you live in a fortified fortress and your children go to school at home and your food is grown within the four walls of your house, you are still part of society. These problems still mean something to you and your family. How are we going to do this? Remove the taboo. 4 ways. Number 1 is address that issue, that matter, which we consider taboo through studies and statistics. Number 2 is to explain the effects of it. Number 3 is to provide some spiritual tools to help us address this matter. Let me just give a disclaimer here. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a physician. I am not an expert in these issues. But I am a scholar, and my goal is to, inshallah, provide the spiritual aspect of it. If a person understands this issue to be something that either A, they are part of contributing towards, or B, they are affected by people's contribution towards it, they should go and seek additional help in addition to this spiritual help. And fourth and last, to start on a path towards a sane and stable practice for oneself and for others. Moving along, what is bullying or what is bully? If you look at the definition of a bully or the act of bullying, it is seeking to harm, intimidate, or to coerce someone who you perceive is vulnerable. You feel you could pick on someone, you can jeer them, you could call them names, you can look down upon them because you feel you have an upper hand, either due to age, size, gender, or the color of your skin. For many out there in the world, bullying comes in the form of racism, it comes in the form of sexism, and it comes in the form of abuse. But for Muslims, it's a mixture of racism, Islamophobia, and also domestic abuse. And we're going to talk about these things tonight, inshallah. There are 4 types of bullying, brothers and sisters. Number 1, physical bullying. Someone's poking someone, pushing someone, hitting them, kicking them, beating them up. Nowadays, you see videos on YouTube, on social media. I think all of us have seen the video of that Syrian refugee child in England who was beaten up by the school kids because to them he didn't belong. And interestingly, he already had a cast on his hand. He already had a broken hand or a fractured hand. But just to make it worse, they were bullying him and they threw him to the ground. This is a type of physical abuse. This level of bullying has become the norm. It happens in schools, it happens in public areas, and it happens also in religious centers. Number 2 is verbal bullying. And I apologize for all those ones. I don't know how that happened. Verbal bullying, yelling at someone, teasing them, calling them names, insulting them, or threatening to harm them. Number 3, social, indirect, by ignoring a person or excluding them when they're usually included. Spreading rumors about them, telling lies, or inciting others to hurt someone. Now, just to pause here, this isn't an Islamic definition of bullying. This is what is known by society at large. And last but not least, the new culprit that has entered into our sphere of life is cyberbullying. Tormenting, threatening, harassing, humiliating, embarrassing, or otherwise targeting using the internet, interactive and digital technologies, or mobile phones. So back in the days when we used to go to school, we were bullied and you come home and you had time to forget about it and just kind of get some downtime. But if you're bullied at school, for the parents who don't know, there's someone recording maybe your child getting bullied. And by the time they come home and they look at their phone, that video has now become a meme. And that meme has now been utilized in very derogatory ways. They might even hashtag your child. Brown kid, don't belong in Dallas. Something. They'll do something. And what happens is that trauma continues nonstop. Those memes, those videos are shared. And how do you know it's becoming more of an impact? Because on social media, you could see the number of shares or looks on that video or likes. So cyberbullying is another aspect that is in our world. Who are vulnerable to being bullied? There are 3 categories, and it entails everyone. But first and foremost, the children and kids. They are bullied. Bullying is more known in this demographic. The second demographic that is vulnerable, and there is documentation of being bullied, are the elderly and the weak. People who are of age, who cannot defend themselves, Either they're alone or they're no longer an active part of the family. The children have maybe sent them away. And this is a topic for another day. And last but not least, adults, i.e. women and men. And this will be, again, a discussion on another day. Kids is what we want to focus on. Bullying in relation to children and kids. Now, places where our children face bullying as Muslims. Number one place is the school. Brothers and sisters, how many of us have children? Your hands up. How many of our children go to school? Now, regardless if your child goes to an Islamic school or a public school, a charter school, or a private school, bullying is documented. The second place is our masjids and our centers. Bullying occurs here also. And last but not least, the homes. So I want you to picture yourself as a child, all of us. 8 o'clock in the morning, you're at school. You're there for 6 hours, 7 hours. You just face 7 hours of on and off bullying. Because it doesn't have to be consistent. Someone could do something, now that whole lesson, you're kind of down, you move on to something else, and someone laughs at what that person did. So it's a continuous trend. Then you come to the masjid for some downtime, and you face a different level of bullying. And we'll expand on these things. And then you go back home, you're drained, you're tired, you're exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually, and there's also bullying in the home. Now let's talk about Muslim children in schools. Let it be known that 1 out of 4 children in America are bullied at school. This is facts, statistics, and I'll give you the links at the end of this. Bullying is happening in our school. 1 in 4 children are faced with being bullied. Look at the column on the right. 55% of Muslim students have reported that they've been bullied because of their religion. Let's go back here. Right here for Muslims, mixture of Islamophobia. Let me get my pointer out here. Islamophobia is also one aspect due to which contributes towards being bullied in society. And here it's making it very clear that because of the religion, because of their religion, 55% of Muslim students have said that they've been bullied due to that. And that number is twice the national average. Yarhamakallah. Twice the national average. Even more concerning is that 1 in 4 of those incidents was by teachers, administrators, or staff. Teachers are bullying children in school. Let me tell you all something. You live here in Plano, Frisco, McKinney, Allen, you pay taxes. Your taxes pay for teachers. Your taxes pay for law enforcement. Your taxes pay for our government officials. If you see something wrong, speak up. The worst thing we can do is tell our children, let it go. Now, this is not Elsa here. You don't let it go. You have to address the issue in a civil, humane, abiding by the law manner. There are cases here that I've already heard from parents where things were said to children and parents failed to address it. How do you address it? You go to the principal's office. You let them know what the teacher said to your child. If the principal doesn't do anything, you go to the superintendent. If the superintendent doesn't do anything, we're going to take it up to the mayor. If the mayor doesn't do anything, we'll take it up to our governor. Why? Because when we stay quiet, we're allowing fear and hatred to stress our children from reaching their potential. I'm sorry I'm going off on this because we'll be discussing this. Between 2016 and 2017, there was 91% increase in hate crimes against Muslims, and of course these numbers are heartbreaking. Now I want to look at this beautiful study that was put together, and I'll give you the link at the end. There's a 91% increase in hatred against Muslims in America. That results in 55% of Muslim children being bullied because of their religion. We're not even going to anything else here. We're talking about religion. It happens in the classrooms, in the buses, the hallways, after-school programs, and also in public spaces such as the malls, streets that they reside in other places. Now, how does that affect your child? Those who are parents here can start relating and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. If you've seen an increased level of depression, anxiety, stress, emotions, acting out, or suicidal thoughts in your child, these are alarms indicating something bigger is happening. And if you've also seen simultaneously a decrease in their physical health, they don't want to eat much, they're not taking care of their health, they're getting sick more often, or that their connection to society is now kind of drifting. They don't want to go to uncle's house for the weekend or meet with their cousins. They don't want to go to the masjid. They don't want to go to the parties. It's like, I don't want to be a part of this. Their academic performance is now indicating a downward trend. I don't know for Plano, but Frisco, we got our report cards this week for our children. And so what report cards are an indicator not for us as cultural parents to say, why is this grade so bad? It is to say, what's going on here behind the scenes? You know your child had a good grade. If that grade is declining, it's an indication of something bigger. As parents, we need to think this thing out. Also, their connection to their school. So there are many different ways we can help them, and today we're going to talk about spirituality, so we're going to move on from there. Now, we talked about school, right, everybody? We talked about school. The second place that they face bullying in the Islamic centers. Some of the many reasons why children face bullying in centers is, number one, due to their race. Understand that every highlight and accomplishment brings forth or opens the door of challenges. The fact that Muslims came from all over the world to America, to North America, parts of South America, and into Europe is a great accomplishment. Beyond that accomplishment, they built centers, Islamic centers, masjids. It's a great thing. But the challenge it brought was to bring harmony, respect, and understanding between the different cultures. Yes, we are one faith. Yes, we worship one Allah. Yes, we are praying at the same time. But there are some underlying issues that we just didn't want to address. Words like you Arab or you Pakistani, and I'm not going to say the half the word. Race is an issue with our children in the masjid. A center that is to accommodate everyone. A center of belonging. I belong here. This is my place. This is our place. If you don't feel that, one of the contributing factors is racism. Number two is language. Two children might be speaking in a certain language, or a child might be speaking to their parent in a language, while other may be laughing at them for that. Another sad reality, brothers and sisters, we talk about how our societies are segregated. There's a part of a city that's high-end, and then there's a part of the city that's not. There's a part of the city where dollars and tax dollars go and contribute to better roads and safer streets, and there's a part of the society that doesn't. We see that. We talk about it. We call it out that blatantly this is wrong. But that happens in our masjid. There is social segregation that our children face in this masjid also. Based on your zip code, what your parents do, who you hang out with. Number four, dress, the way they dress. And sadly, number five, disabilities. Just to point one thing out here. No one is disabled. The terms disabled, handicap, they meant good to explain that there are people who have special needs. But if you recall in a khutbah maybe 2 months ago, I said the only disability is a bad attitude. Because an able-bodied person disabled themselves. Everyone else has been designed and created by Allah. I ask you, Did Allah make a mistake? Yes or no? Did Allah make a mistake with you? Did Allah make a mistake with your children? Did Allah make a mistake with anyone? No one's disabled. Everyone is unique in their creation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People cannot see, but they can do amazing things otherwise. There's people who can't hear, but they have other great potentials and they have other great characteristics through which they define themselves. They don't let the figure of their body or the things that they don't have that other people may commonly have define them. So, as children who come to a center, we need to be cognizant that in masjid, and especially in this masjid only because we are working towards making this masjid a safe zone for all. Race doesn't matter here. Why? Because race never mattered at the time of my Habib Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he drilled home that message till his last breath. In Hajjatul Wada, in the farewell Hajj, what did he say? There is no superiority of a black over a white, an Arab over a non-Arab. This is something we have to remind ourselves as we walk into this masjid, because if we can represent that here, we can take it out and solve the society out there that's plagued by the same problem. Languages are means of communication that Allah has created. No one is rich or poor in accordance to the standards that society dictates. We are all rich or poor depending on how Allah sees us. Our richness is only in the eyes of Allah, and since Allah does not expose that, we should not create social lines. So long a person dresses modestly, there's nothing wrong with it. And we talked about disabilities. The last place for children, and again, just recapping, we're talking about children today in bullying in respect of time. Bullying occurs at home also. Bullying has many phases at home. Siblings amongst each other, parents to children is also one of the many ways that bullying occurs. And not only is it considered bullying, but the biggest problem is that it's become normalized. We've normalized the situation. You can no longer categorize it as bullying. We'll just say how we were raised. Or I'm raising you in a way I think I need to raise you. Today in the khutbah we talked about calling people names. You don't call people names. Even amongst your children, or brothers amongst brothers, or brothers and sisters, or sisters and brothers, name calling isn't a thing that Islam promotes. Names such like fatty, skinny, four-eye, dumb, slow. These are not names that Islam promoted. Let me explain to you all something here. Islam solved the problem by presenting something better. Islam didn't come and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Islam said, this is good, this is better, this is the best. Do you understand me? When we start doing the good, we ultimately move away from the wrong. But if we are not periodically reminded of the good, better, and best, then we start swaying and drifting towards the bad. Calling people names is not acceptable, and especially in home. Number 2, comparison with other siblings. You know, I wish you were more like your big brother. Or your sister did better than you in school. What's wrong with you? Where did you come from? We don't compare. Just as a Muslim is taught that every human being is unique, parents should know by now every child that you have is unique. They all have different characteristics, different ways to address things. Their attitude is different. Their nature is different. So we should not compare one with the other. For if Allah was to compare me on the Day of Judgment and say, you know what, fine, you're a Muslim, but you're not as good as Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh. You know, you're nowhere close to the generosity of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh. So you're no good in my eyes. How would you feel? How would I feel? Number 3, downplaying their accomplishments. It is a fact that our children cannot do good in every single subject or in every single thing in life. So we should not downplay their accomplishments. Rather, we should assist them in reinforcing that goodness and strengthening those weaknesses and focusing where their energy is going towards more. Whatever they are focused on, that their passion lies in. If it's in mathematics and it's not in history, of course, stabilize history, but also allow them to excel in their math. And last but not least, comparing them with others. We went to their house last week. Look how good their child was. How come you're not as good as them? Don't compare them with their siblings and don't compare them with others. Now, how did Islam present preventative measures when it comes to bullying? Islam didn't come and say, don't bully, don't do this, don't do that. Islam, as it was doing that, it was doing something better. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first thing we find from him is his demeanor in respect to the matter at hand. Once Bilal radiallahu anhu came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he was very upset. He was sad. The Prophet ﷺ said, what happened? And he said, that person called me something very derogatory. What did he call you? He said, oh, son of a black mother. Is that what he said? Is that what he said? Call him. And when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ addressed that Sahabi, he addressed them with a face that was red. Because the first thing we need to do is acknowledge something that is wrong as wrong. That's the first step. Doesn't matter how much Quran and Hadith we read, if we cannot acknowledge a thing that is wrong to be wrong, that is our first fault. And if our first step is a failure, there's no progress. So Islam has taught us preventative measures, and I repeat for those who never attended the second khutbah today, in chapter 17 verse 70, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that He honors all the children of Adam. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. Allah says we have honored all the children of Adam. So if my Allah has honored every human being, how can I dishonor someone else? Regardless if it's family, friend, or foe, how can I dishonor someone? In the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we learn it is evil enough that a Muslim should look down on his brother or her sister. The evil that can destroy us is as simple as looking down on someone. Bullying stems from dishonoring a person, feeling that they're not worthy. I ask you all, where is the current racist trend stemming from? That blacks are not as worthy as white. It's straightforward. This is the language. That people of color are not equal to those who are of the white race. Allah is addressing that. Yes. Oh, that went off? If we have some technical support for that one, I'm sorry. It actually did that last week also. SubhanAllah. Is it restoring? Oh, it's searching. Okay. Bismillah. It's searching? Okay. There's light. Let's see what happens. Bismillah. And that's not from me, but inshallah. I apologize for that, but hopefully it comes back. Bismillah. In the meantime, we could just see here. Allah is telling you and setting for you as Muslims a standard that you have to take to the world. Every human being has to be honored. Number two, that when you look down on someone, you will then be looked down upon by Allah. So when I feel that I want to pick on someone, remember how it would feel if Allah picked on me. The third is a hadith narrated by Anas radiallahu ta'ala, that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, help your brother, whether he is an oppressor or he is an oppressed one. The Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, it's all right to help the person who's oppressed, but how should we help the person if they're an oppressor? The Prophet ﷺ said, by preventing them from oppressing others. Islam taught us not only to represent goodness, but to assist those who are representing the opposite of goodness to become that goodness. Does that make sense? You cannot say, well, that person's wrong and let's shun them. Islam never closed the door on Abu Jahl. Did it, yes or no? Did it? It never. The Prophet ﷺ went to him dozens of times, if not a little over 100 times. Islam did not close the door on Abu Lahab. He closed the door on himself. Islam did not close the door on Fir'aun. He closed the door on himself. Islam did not close the door on Wahshi. Allah kept the door open, and that's why he entered that door. So we do not close the door on people. And last but not least, the verse of the Holy Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la yaskhar qawmun min qawmin. Brothers and sisters, children and adults, if someone says something derogatory, it's because they're looking down on them. It's because they don't honor them. It's all systematic. Just follow it. Don't look at the words. Look at what it's trying to tell you. When you don't honor, you will look down. When you look down, you will then become an oppressor. But the Prophet ﷺ said, intervene here. Help the oppressor and the oppressed. How can we prevent that from falling? Don't laugh at one another. If a person tells a joke and that joke entails making fun of someone, don't laugh. Because when you don't laugh, the person will stop making that joke. And when they stop making that joke, those types of jokes will then become outdated and a person won't be inclined towards saying it. But if you sit amongst people that like making fun of people, everyone will look for stories or make up stories to bring to the table for dinner or lunch and continue to mock people. And that is not good, because as the verse says, evil is a bad name after faith. The fact that you call people evil names after having faith, that is evil enough. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us to honoring people is not your moral compass, but there is virtue to it. According to this hadith of Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala, and inshallah, I don't know what's happening there, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, and I'll say it, whoever defends his brother's honor in his absence. Remember the hikmah and the wisdom of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. When a person comes and says something to you directly and puts you down, it is because they already tested it somewhere else. Remember this. I talked about this with my friends. I said that person is a filthy animal, and they laughed at it. They liked it. Now I'm going to have the courage to go to that person in their face and say, you're a filthy animal. But I tested it before. So here the Prophet ﷺ is saying, if you defend your brother's honor in their absence, and this goes for sisters also, or brothers to sister, sister to brother, Allah will protect that person's face from the fire of hell on the day of resurrection. You are not part of making up this thing. You are not part of instigating. All you did was when a person tried to talk bad about someone that you liked or not, you said no. No. I don't accept that. I don't agree with that. You protected that person's honor. The person who's being smeared and the person that you protected is one and the same person. They don't know about this. But who knows about it? Who knows about it? Allah does. And Allah is saying, on the day of judgment, I'm going to protect your faith, the most noble and most important part of your body. How do you know it's important? If someone throws a ball at you or towards you, the first thing you do, your instincts are you cover your face. You don't cover your stomach. You don't cover your legs. You cover your face. Allah's going to protect that person's face from the fire of hell on the day of judgment. Hadith number 2 of 3. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is the most beautiful hadith. I love this. Whoever relieves a brother's distress of the distressful aspects of this world, Allah will rescue that person from the difficulties of the hereafter. There are many problems people face in this world. You help the person with one of their worldly problems, Allah will help you with one of your afterlife problems. Is that a deal or no deal? Deal or no deal? I think it's a deal. Number 2, whoever alleviates the situation of one who is in a dire position. For example, they can't repay their debt and you help them. Allah will alleviate your lot in this world and in the next. Subhanallah. Whoever conceals, number 3, whoever conceals the fault of a Muslim, Allah will conceal their fault in this life and in the hereafter. Imagine on the Day of Judgment, we all have faults, right? Anyone here could put their hand up and say, I have no faults? I'm flawless? Anyone? I thought that was a hand. I thought that was a hand. He was stretching. Brother was stretching. I was like, whoa, I need to follow you. I'm your student if that's the case. MashaAllah. I know you're joking. If you, subhanAllah, were to talk about someone's fault, you know it, you saw it, you spoke about it. You're telling the news. You're telling facts. On the Day of Judgment, just picture this. Allah calls your name by your name and your father's name. O Muhammad, son of Abdullah, come. Now what's the crowd? What's the venue? It's the stadium of the Day of Judgment. There are over 100 billion people standing there. We have 7 billion right now. And however we calculate, just say 100 billion people. And jinns, double it up, 200 billion. And Allah then opens the curtain because with those who Allah loves because they were loving on this earth, Allah will close the curtain. Well, let's talk here. So Allah will then open the curtain and say, guess what, everyone? You know what this guy did? You know what this sister did? Let me tell the world. So with social media, we can go as far as telling maybe 1 million people or 10 million people. Allah's going to tell 20 or 200 billion on the Day of Judgment. Think about that. So if you conceal the fault, you know it. You concealed it, Allah will conceal your faults in this life and the next. And this is a longer hadith. Allah is helping a servant so long you're helping your brother. Now think about this. Good, best, and better. Good, better, best. When we're going in this route, that I'm going to help a person, you're not going to harm a person. I'm going to protect a person's honor, you're not going to degrade a person and dishonor them. I'm going to elevate the rank of my fellow Muslim and friend and human being. You are not going to then bully them or taunt them or harm them. Islam didn't say don't. Islam said don't because this is better. Don't because this is the best. Islam showed us to change our focus in our path. Now, a very interesting thing happened with the Sahaba when the Prophet Muhammad said that he talked about backbiting. And so the Sahaba asked him, okay, we said that he pees in the sink, for example. But it's true, we saw him do it. Right? The Prophet Muhammad said, if what you say is true, that is backbiting. If you cannot say it to the individual, but you went and said it behind their back, and it's true what they did, it's called backbiting. And if it's not true, then you slandered the person. And slandering a person is a very big crime. 3 more slides and we're done. After what we talked about today, regarding children, regarding school, masjid, and home, regarding the virtues in the hadith to do contrary to that, and the foundation laid down in the Quran of what we should be, there are 2 states here. Either you're being bullied or you may be a bully. The Prophet Muhammad said, help your brother if they are the oppressor or the oppressed. So based on our spiritual path and our spiritual course, we're trying to see what we can do. If you're being bullied, acknowledge that this isn't normal and it's not right and you cannot let it continue. It's a matter of speaking up. If you are called a name, for example, someone's short in height and then they called him in his childhood, in teenage years, Chota. Are Chota? Chota. In Chota means small. Zahir. Come here. The guy's grown up, he's a father of 5 and they're still calling him Chota. And then the children are asking, Father, why do they call you Chota? Oh, because when I was a kid I was short and they called me Chota. Do you understand what's happening here? You didn't speak up. It became your nickname. And of course the Quran says we don't call people by names. So first thing you have to do is someone's being physically, mentally, spiritually, or even on social media being bullied. It's not right. So what you have to do is speak up. You have to let the people know that you don't like this and it's not acceptable. Number two is that you have to seek help from others. I.e., you have to bring it to light in front of people in your family that can help you with it. Number three, seek help to address your trauma. Now, since time has prolonged and you have not addressed it, the moment that you address it, it's just like a workout. For anyone who's been to the gym first time or after a long time, or someone who's played outside or played a sport after a long time, you know what happens that night? You got pain. It's a lot of pain. And you wake up in the morning. If you ever went skiing or skating, you wake up in the morning, your feet are like jelly. You can't walk. You're wobbling. You're literally holding on to things. What happened now is the trauma, which was normalized, is now being brought to a halt. People realize you don't like it. Now the effects of it are starting to sink in. You should go and seek help from those who can help in that trauma. And I was looking for a picture I wanted to present tonight, but I couldn't find it. I saw it on Facebook. It was a very deep picture. I want you to picture it in your head if you can. It's a kitchen setting. There's a table in the background. There's a father and there's a child. The father's standing up. The child's on the chair. And the father's screaming at the child. I don't know if he's pointing him down or he wants to slap him. Okay? Behind this child is a bigger kid. And this goes around the table. This same kid is growing up in phases, right? So like a little kid, teenager, a young adult, an adult. Like he's getting bigger and it comes back around. You understand what's happening here? If you face something, you are highly likely to do to someone else. And sometimes the reason is, if I don't do it, it's only fair I do it. People did it to me, so it's time for me to do it to someone else. This is where I'm really concerned when it comes to our culture and our religion. That's why I like to always separate the two, because our culture doesn't represent our religion. Yes, many of us may not have been raised the way we wanted to be raised or the way we think is a better way, but why don't we represent that goodness that we now know of? Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhu reports that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever is silent has been saved. Now understand this. It means that they should be silent when there is no good in speaking something bad. So you don't be silent over here. If you're being bullied, you have to speak up. You have to speak up and you have to speak out. You have to seek help from those who you can trust, your family members, and you have to seek professional help. But when it comes to that moment that you feel you can do the same thing, there's someone smaller than me right now, someone shorter than me, someone younger than me, someone maybe of the opposite gender, and I feel I could do to them what was done to me once upon a time. No. I'm not going to do it. And I want to give you all an exercise for this. And actually, that's the exercise for the person who's a bully, and it comes in line with this. You're about to say something very wrong. You're going to hold your breath or bite your tongue. Hold your breath for 5 seconds. Okay, your anger now is allowing you to think, I'm going to say this thing. Possibility is you're going to go ahead and say it. But you keep doing it, it's going to help make your moral compass intervene strongly. Don't do it. Remember what's at stake. Just because it happened to you doesn't mean you have to do it to someone else. You have to pause before you speak. All of us. Because Allah forbid, if we started a trend and it continues, the burden of that trend and sin comes on me. So bite your tongue for 5 seconds or hold your breath for 5 seconds. And that, of course, is if you're bullying. If you're a bully, based on whatever you heard before or whatever you heard tonight, first thing to do is accept it. I have a problem. It's not you. It's maybe the lack of addressing an issue. You took care of the car. You gave it a car wash every week. You waxed it every 2 months, right? But you never did an oil change. There's a problem now. Don't blame yourself because of it. The problem is there, accept it. Number 2, seek help. Seek help from people who are willing to help. And especially for our children, if you feel that you're saying something to people and you find pleasure in doing that, or you are being mean to someone and you find happiness in doing that, seek help, because that's not the right thing to do. And when your moral compass comes around, I'll tell you an incident. There was a classmate of ours. He was the most mischievous person you've ever seen. There wasn't a thing he didn't do to anyone. From stealing from the stores, he would actually go out and challenge. I'm going to go to that store to Dadi Bhai, and I'm going to steal something, and he would do it. He would go out to kind of take people's laundry and throw them in the mud. He would do it. In our madrasa days, we had to take our clothes. We didn't have the money because we got 5 pounds in a week, and you had to buy food and other things, so chocolates and candies and stuff. And so go wash our clothes with our hands, rinse them out, hang them. He'll go and take them and put them in the mud. One day he did such a thing that everyone was saying they're going to kick him out today. He's going to get kicked out of this institution. What he did was he jumped out of the window onto the ledge and he walked around to the roof. He didn't want to get caught. That night, I don't know what happened. Only Allah knows what happened. He came around 180 degrees. Not only did he express his remorse, but he cried, and he cried, and he cried. There's always a moment in life when Allah gives that opportunity. I call it the moment of the axe. The moment when the people who worshipped the idols came back and they said, Ibrahim a.s. did this. And he said, no, the big one did it. Ask him. And they're like, but the big one doesn't speak. He goes, exactly. Mic drop. Don't you get it? If he doesn't speak, why are you asking from him? And that was the moment that their moral compass hit in. Why are we worshipping these idols? But then they were distracted. Build a fire and burn Ibrahim a.s. Long story short, a moment comes in our life for us to perfect ourselves. He was given one more chance. He went and repaid everyone he stole from. He went and he sought forgiveness from everyone he did wrong to. And he went the extra mile. He went and told people what he spoke about them behind their backs. It's just a moment that comes from Allah. So the best thing you can do is seek forgiveness. And last but not least, change your ways. According to hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever has wronged his brother with regard to his honor or anything else, seek forgiveness today. Now the question arises, if I go up to you and I tell you that I have called you so and so, and you're bigger than me, the chances are you're going to beat me up. So the best way to do it is keep it generic. I called you something behind your back which I don't think I should have, and I know I shouldn't. So I'm asking for apology. Please forgive me. If you stole from someone and you want to go back and give them, fiqh, right? In the books of fiqh, it's written, either you give something of equivalent value, you give them the thing back, or you give them the money in some way, because there's a possibility that they find out that you were stealing, that they may not trust you, and you want to build that trust. So in Hidayah, there's some amazing things written, but you change your ways by seeking forgiveness from Allah and from the people themselves. If you've wronged your brother with regard to their honor or anything else, let them seek forgiveness today before the time comes that no dollar or pound will help you, basically. And if there's any good deed to your credit on that day, it will be taken from you to compensate for the wrong you did to that person. Remember, the line here is simple. Fix things today or lose everything tomorrow. And the day when, Allah forbid, a person who wronged people in this world did not fix, if you have no good deeds at that time, and there are still people who have claims against you, their bad deeds will be thrown on you, destining that individual for hellfire. May Allah protect everyone. Say Ameen. This is very serious. So all that was discussed tonight was in reference to statistics and other things. The hadith are there, but as for the the diagrams and the numbers. You can find them on these following websites. Please take a picture of this. StopBullying.gov is a government-related website. It has many great resources. The FYI.org is toned towards Islam and Muslims. It has amazing stuff on it. And so does ING.org. They have some amazing things. So not only towards bullying, but in regards to marriage and so many other things. So, alhamdulillah, we are concluding now. And our point today was to do 4 things. And just to go back, we wanted to discuss the issue. Bullying is happening. It's not a taboo. The studies and statistics proved it. We talked about the effects and the spiritual tools, the Quran and Hadith. And inshallah, make a niyyah to go on a path towards something sane and stable. Say inshallah. If I'm bullying, I'm no longer gonna bully, inshallah, and I'm gonna set out on that path to becoming a better person. If I'm being bullied, then inshallah, I'm going to address this matter to let the perpetrator know it's not good for him as much as it's not good for me. And inshallah, we're going to create a sane and stable environment where everyone will thrive and succeed. With that, we end, and I'll open up. Does anyone have any questions, inshallah? Please feel free to ask. Anyone? Anyone, inshallah? Yes. I think that would be powerful. We'd love to have an open mic. If someone, and maybe next 5 minutes or so, if anyone wants to speak about their effects of bullying on them, please feel free. Anyone. Because the thing is that we may think of it to be a theory, a myth, something that's in a storybook. No, this is real. How many of us have been bullied in their lives? Put their hands up. You shouldn't be ashamed to say it. How many of us might have bullied someone in their life? It's true. We're accepting it. We have to. Might have made fun of someone, talked about someone. Even if it's Donald Trump, let's be serious. We're talking behind someone's back. Yes or no? Bullying. We cannot legitimize what we do because of who we're doing it to. Islam sets a global standard. So, inshallah, this is here for all of us. And we will take this discussion home and allow these discussions to grow, inshallah. Sisters and brothers, jazakumullah khairan for your time. Jazakumullah khairan for your presence. We'll be doing this every month. Next month's topic will be posted soon. We end with the dua. اللهم أنت السلام منك السلام تبارك ربنا وتعاليت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين جزاكم الله خيرا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته